Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unsealed Spellbook Podcast, episode 5, with myself, Al DCI Tackle Henley, and Damien Shrink Clarke. How are you doing, Damien?
Not so bad. How are you now?
Not so bad, and you?
Yeah, not so bad. Wow, we had some pretty good semi-final games, didn't we? This week, pretty spicy.
Pretty unexpected.
I mean, I think we said in the last episode that we could pretty much expect any result from these semi-final games and not be too surprised. But I think the manner in which they came about is probably pretty surprising. So I think it'd be cool to talk about how we got to this result from these two teams that have progressed. So spoiler alert. Obviously, we had the Damwon versus G2 game, and Damwon won that. And Suning versus Top Esports, Suning won that, meaning that we have a Damwon Suning final.
Which should be very, very exciting to watch, I think. But if we're looking at the results themselves, I think most people were putting Damwon over to beat G2 simply based on performances both in the regular season and in the tournament so far. Like, Damwon have dropped one game to, I think it was JDG, the entire tournament.
Yeah, which you could argue that potentially they were trolling at that point anyway. But yeah.
Whereas G2 have dropped games to Suning a couple of times, dropped games to Team Liquid. So, and I also think that Damwon are just looking more clinical going into this semi-final, like in almost every game they've been in. So
yeah,
they were my favourites. They were your favourites. Having said that, though, I did think that if an upset was going to happen, it would be G2 to upset Damwon rather than Suning to upset Top. But looking back on it, I actually think I underrated Top a lot. I underrated Suning a lot going into this.
Yeah, they've come out of groups with a great deal of momentum. Like, I think picking up those games against G2, like, set them on the path to, actually we're actually pretty good at League of Legends, you know. And I think they've actually, as the tournament's progressed, I think they've moved their ceiling higher and higher. Because obviously they had a much lower ceiling in the LPL regular season, as showcased by the fact that they're the third seed, not the first. But as they've come to Worlds, I don't know if there's something developed in the scrims that's helped them. I don't know if there's been a change in mentality. Playing against international competition, whatever it is.
Or is it simply the meta? The meta suits them better?
Yeah, maybe the meta suits them, because this is a slightly different patch, isn't it? It's 10-19 they're still playing on. So I don't know if coming off that patch onto this one made all the difference for them. I can't think of any particular changes that would have done that. I couldn't think of any particular balance change in 10-19 that is like really in favour of Suning's playstyle.
I think it's just as you say, rather than momentum of beating G2, carrying that over into the JDG series, and then carrying that over into Top.
Yeah, that's really what it feels like to me.
Well, another thing is, like, these aren't games that, you know, they're winning by getting lucky either. You're actually seeing them just beat down their opponent.
Yeah. Which is it's really surprising, especially from a team with like rookie players on it, like Bin, who I'll reiterate only turned 18 this season. Like, he's only just allowed to go to Worlds. So like,
and he
incredible
was
performance.
He was one of the key players that, from Sunday's game.
Absolutely.
But
he's a pleasure to watch.
He is. I've actually enjoyed watching Suning's games more than anyone's in terms of entertainment value.
They're the Chinese G2, I think, because they do some mad shit sometimes, and I think that's pretty entertaining to watch.
They do. I like that they've got the bravery to just pick the random Jax or the Wukong top, like.
Yep.
When no one else is doing it, when it makes sense, but when no one else is doing it, I kind of like that, and they've done that quite a bit. I also like the intelligence of the players as well. There's a lot of times where the individual players will just min-max their choices to give them the best outcome in a situation that's upcoming.
Well, I think your best example of that is like SOFM, right? With his builds, every single time he's getting like the best gold value out of everything. He's building the Knight's Vow on the Lee Sin. You know, he's not building his items like you'd expect. But when you look at it in hindsight, you think actually this really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So like, actually looking at SOFM in general, he is always ready to pick up an item that doesn't necessarily scream out, a second item Lee Sin, Spirit Visage, or third item Knight's Vow, but he'll still do it because of how valuable those actual items are for the team. Like, he doesn't recognize himself as the 1v9 solo carry, because you don't really do that on Lee Sin. You can 1v9 a team fight with some like players, but you don't actually do much in the team fight after the initial engage. So yeah, I really like that out of SOFM and the rest of the squad, really.
I think there's a mentality that this sort of next generation of pro players have to have, like SOFM has already. I actually saw some videos from Sneaky recently, and for a while he was just basically building Manamune on everything, right? He's built Manamune on every single AD carry, and everyone was like, come on, Manamune's not in your recommended build for this AD carry. Like, it's a trash item. You're only supposed to build it on Ezreal and Senna. Like, those are the only champions it's for. And it was actually just play it, because a lot of the game is about feel, right? And actually how the item feels when you play that character. And he said, if you just play a game as Manamune Ashe, and you'll be able to feel the difference. The numbers might not make sense. If you look at it on paper, it might not make sense in a numbers perspective. When you play it and you feel it, that's what makes a difference. And I think it's SOFM has that real feel and instinct for these items, and he knows, like, this actually feels physically right to me in this situation. And rather than just looking at what Boris has got on offer that day, he just goes in, goes recommended. Oh, I'll just take that one.
Yeah, is that Cleaver?
Oh,
I'll buy the Phage. I'll buy the Phage.
I love a Phage. That's at $12.50. That's pretty reasonably priced.
Bargain.
Yeah, got some stats on it. But yeah, no, he's not fooled by it, because he knows he's going to get that home, and that item's going to be no good for him. It's like when you walk into a game store, let's say, to be ironic, since I work in one. You walk into a video game store and you see like the chart of games. You're like, oh, these are the top games out right now. And you don't know what you're doing. You're buying for someone else, like maybe it's a parent buying for a kid or something like that. Oh, is that the new game? The new game. We get that a lot. Is that the new game? It's like, oh yeah, that one's quite new. Yeah, it's like that. Oh, well, I'm buying for our lad. Is it a good one? Oh yeah. I mean, most games are good now. They don't really make bad ones. Like, yeah, take it home. Gets it home. This kid starts playing. Is like, oh, this is a piece of shit. Like, that's what Boris does to you. And then they send, but the difference being that those parents come back to me and then they're like, my kid said this is a piece of shit, and I say, it's not in our returns policy that we can return it for it being a piece of shit. Like, I didn't make the game, I just sold it to you. Alright.
Damn, you're the physical embodiment of Boris and all of it.
Absolutely. I'm the Boris of the video games world, which I suppose Boris is the Boris of the video games world.
So to anyone who bought Sea of Thieves on release, this is dedicated to you.
It's good now. I started playing it actually recently. It's good.
Scaling. It was a scaling item.
It was a scale. Yeah. We bought that one for late game. Oh dear. But yeah. Anyway, I mean, we're on a Suning curve right now. So let's talk. Should we just go straight into Suning top and let's talk about the series?
Let's mix it
up. Let's talk game one. Game one.
Yep. So game
what
one.
Happened? Top one. Game one. Right.
Suning won game one.
Did they?
They did.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna fact check that, because I feel like top won that one, because I think Suning got 3 back to back. I'm fact checking you. No, you're right. Shut me up. Absolutely right. So yeah, go on. Suning won game one.
Because this is the one where they had the Wukong, who just absolutely annihilated Jin on almost every team fight.
Yes. This is another idea that we're going to get back to quite a lot, and I think this is something that's being underestimated about the World's Meta. It's about champions that can scatter your backline or just scatter your comp completely if you're in a team fighting situation. And actually, now looking at it, this is a very similar issue to what we were talking about with G2 Damwon, where we've got kind of a there's range in there, but you're not explicitly got that to counter it. So when you have something that will dive in that back line, you have a threat that's going to get amongst you. It really messes up these sort of short range champions.
Looking at the draft, you've effectively got two teams trying to do the same thing, where you have like an AD carry and a mid laner who are the damage dealers but want to keep a set distance away from the opposition, and then you have backline divers. That applies to like both Jace and Wukong. It applies to Set and Lee Sin.
Yeah.
The Pantheon and the Rakan have Rakan does it better, but Pantheon is obviously you take it for different reasons. In the team fight, Pantheon is a bit of a wet fart, I would say. Yeah,
I'd agree.
But what effectively came down to was what team could get to the backline faster. But if you look at the comps just as they are now, there's just so many more tools on the side of Suning that they can use to both peel and engage. Like Rakan Wukong going invisible in the middle of a team fight can be really hard to keep track of. Especially if you're trying to dish out as much damage as you can in the team fight, which resulted in a dead Jhin most of the time. Compare that to Jace, who doesn't really have that access. He has to either have a good flank or run through Lee Sin, Rakan, and even then Azir and Ezreal just kind of peel away from him.
You're not going to get there. You're not going to get to where you're going.
The Jace pick, I think, is a bit of a feels bad. I don't know if they wanted to try and like draft this longer range comp, but they'd already funneled into having like Set and Pantheon, so at this point you're probably best off just going something like they can either beat the Wukong in lane, because that was a problem. The Wukong won lane pretty hard. which is always a struggle when you're playing AD into Wukong, because obviously Wukong has armor in his passive. Bin's clearly quite adept on the champion, because he made a lot of those players look easy. Anyone can do it.
I think there was a solo kill at some point.
There was, I'm pretty sure.
I think Bin got a solo kill on a Jace as well, which is a feels bad man. So your recommendation is obviously you haven't. Well, the problem is, I suppose, that you haven't got counter pick there because you're on blue side. So you have to pick a top laner, and they're going.
That's true.
In their eyes, are they saying Jace is a safe top laner that we can't get hard punished for?
Yeah, because like you're right, they don't have counter pick, but at the same time, Wukong was locked in first. Like it was R1 Wukong.
Was it?
Yeah, I've got the draft up in front of me. So it was actually R1 Wukong and B5 Jace, which I thought was quite strange.
No, it wasn't. I got the video on now. Yeah, I think you've gone to where they've already swapped.
I have. Sorry.
Yeah. So Wukong is the counter pick.
It was. Sorry, the Wukong counter pick did come in.
Yeah, but still, like, it's still a bit it's a bit arrogant if you ask me.
Yeah, the visual deceived me on the screen there.
It's a bit arrogant if you ask me to go for the Jace and say there's no way we can get punished on this. Like, you're saying there's no way 369 gets punished on this Jace. Like, it doesn't. I think Jace is a champion that can be punished. Obviously, that's one champion that can do it. It's proved right there. I think even potentially a Jax or something could have done something similar. You know, like I think there's punishes for that champion.
I actually think the only reason Bin doesn't go Jax here is because there's not really like it's not a free lane. Like Jax struggles more in the early, and Jace is can bully him quite easy. There's also counterplaying using the E knockback from Jace to dodge a counter strike. Yeah. So that can get quite rough for Jax compared to Wukong, which he can trade quite easily and safely using his combo. that Jace can't really deal with as much. But yeah, they're locked in the Jace, and it's kind of... It's strange to me because it's not an easy to execute champ in team fights. And you've already got Set, Orianna, Jhin, and they've already got Ezreal, Azir, Rakan. So you're already going towards that kind of team fight mentality just in the draft phase. So if you wanted to go split pusher, then you probably want to pick something better than Jace, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they were trying to go for. Like, try and, like, win the 4-1.
I don't know. I mean, one of the other things I suppose you've got to think about is the fact that you want something that combos well with the Pantheon. So you want to have the Pantheon ult into your lane and get the combo off and absolutely blow someone up. Camille's up here, right? Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. It's first band. Let's think. What does a similar job to that? What can you lock someone down with?
It's hard because it's bland. Because if it wasn't blind and it was Wukong first pick, I'd have probably inclined to say Malphite.
Oh, yeah.
And you just sit through lane phase. It don't really matter if you get beat because ultimately you're there just for the wombo and you can probably nuke at least 2 people in the team fight.
I'm also thinking Mordekaiser's not terrible.
Mordekaiser's good in the sense of you can actually take Wukong out of the fight.
Yeah.
But that's only if it's executed well and you don't ult the clone.
Yeah, true.
But it also provides appeal for Jhin. So, because ultimately that was what decided a lot of these team fights.
Yes. Yeah.
It's also fairly safe. And I don't think we'd have seen the Wukong into it because it's a harder matchup for Wukong.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I think this is one of the things that's different as well about Top and Suning, and one of the reasons why Suning ultimately becomes the victor of this series is that I see this a lot in Game 1s in particular. This at Worlds in particular, Game 1s, I've seen a lot of people come in and go, Game 1, we're going to play this draft, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, if these bans are up, we ban them. If these picks are up, we pick them. And I think this is a moment where Top's had, like, a few good scrims on these particular champions, and they've gone... Each of them's gone, I want to play Jhin today, I want to play Set today, I want to play Orianna today. They've gone down the list and they've been like, oh great, these champions are available. And they've not thought about their comp on the whole. They've not thought about their comp that they're playing against. Whereas Suning have played every single pick here has been picked for a purpose. And it all comes together as well to make a really good draft.
Yeah, I actually feel like there was a bit of denial on the side of Top, where they really wanted to deny SOFM picks because they banned out Kindred and Graves in first rotation. So those are the 2 big AD junglers. So straight away, you're getting an AP mid laner.
Yep.
Or like you're either getting like an off meta AD jungler or an AP jungler. Sorry, not mid laner. And they obviously both go into the I wouldn't say off meta, but it's not Kindred or Graves. So you're just gonna be like Lee Sin. In this case, Set, your Hecarims. That's kind of all we've seen. Otherwise, you go the AP route. Lilia's up, for example, but they didn't want to go into that. So they take away Jhin first pick. One thing has been an absolute monster on Jhin this tournament. So I don't think it's no accident that they decided to dedicate B1 to Jhin.
Absolutely. We've seen the highlight play. No one wants that to happen to him.
But he's not a one trick though. SOFM like clearly he can play other things.
Absolutely, and Huang Feng has overall this whole series. I think he plays 3 Ezreal games this whole series, and he pops off on it like every single game, which is crazy coming from a rookie. I think this is his worst game out of all of them.
Yeah.
This first game, he's sort of easing into it. I think I was nervous for him in the first game because the Ezreal wasn't where he needed to be. But he kept playing it. He kept every time it was, he kept picking it and just got stronger and stronger on it into each new game.
Not only that, like the early, like they got first blood up top. Like Bin got the kill onto the Jace with help from the Lee Sin. But after that, it was just they try and go for this dive in the bot lane, and I don't know why. Like, Pantheon's level 6. I think what it was, because I don't think the Observer actually panned to it, because there was a fight going in top line where they actually got a kill on Bin. But at the time, it looked like they were trying to dive the Jhin with Rakan Ezreal.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was a Jhin double kill.
Yes, yeah, I do remember that. I think it's weird because they get the full combo off. Like, Rakan gets his full charm and knock up and everything he could possibly get, he gets on the Jhin. But I think he's got. Does he take cleanse? Oh no, he takes heal in this one, doesn't he? So I think he flash heals and like he's just got enough to not die.
It's also the fact that the Pantheon's got ultimate as well. So,
yeah, and he ults back down to...
Yeah, like they exhausted the Jhin as well, but yeah, the heal comes in. The Rakan tanks too many shots. Ezreal missed the ultimate. Pantheon ults in. It's just a disaster for Suning, really. Yeah. They just funneled over so much gold over to Jackie Love, who is an AD carry who's going to use that gold, by the way.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you're going to feed anyone on that team, maybe don't feed Jackie Love.
But Bin knew that, so he had his targets set, and that's effectively the story of how the rest of this game goes. Like, Top actually retained a gold lead for the majority of this game. They had 3 Drakes. They were on soul point, but again we see the Spirit Visage Knight's Vow coming on the Lee Sin.
Yep.
On the side of SWFM. Wukong's kind of kingdom in the Jace. He's on Triforce Death Stance. You know he's not going to be able to die in the side lane, and he's going to be able to survive a team fight for a considerable amount of time. So when these team fights start, you have some like cracking ultimates from Angels as the year as well.
Yeah.
Really turn the fight. It allowed them to get the second Mountain Drake, things like that, and they just kind of run it down from that. Run it down mid and just end the game.
I think you've absolutely identified like the way that Suning win. Their champions are good at scattering during a fight. The champions are good at peeling back, so as they get to choose the fight that they want. And they were just really smart about choosing those fights, the key moments, playing on the item spikes like you were saying, and just really good League of Legends, I suppose. Like, with the exception of a little bit of first game jitters, like you say, a bit of a poor dive, and a bit of overextension here and there. But beyond that, like, just pretty good League of Legends, playing the champions to their win condition, and that's how you win these games.
And that was it. It was just making sure that all the champions did exactly what they needed to do.
Absolutely.
So going into game 2.
Game 2, I've got my draft ready.
This is the one that Top ended up winning.
Yes.
So looking at this, we see a trade-off of... we see Suning put the priority on the Jhin this time.
Which is fair. Huang Fang, I think, has proven himself on it,
Roles reverse, Jackalove takes the Ezreal.
Yep.
Knight runs it back on the Orianna. Casa takes the Lee Sin, which we know he's adept on. It's also a counter, or a soft counter. Well, it's not really a counter because they picked Kindred into it, I believe. But
yes, they did put Kindred in.
But like Lee Sin's kind of a soft counter to Kindred, because in those isolated catches that you find Kindred, you can just kick the target out.
Yeah, I was going to mention this actually because we saw it probably 3 or 4 times across this game where the Kindred ult comes down and whoever Lee Sin wants to kill, he just kicks out of it. Casa some really big kicks in this one.
I was happy to see Angel back on Zoe, but
it's a bit of comfort for him.
But I actually think that a big part of this game was the fact that you have a scaling top laner, scaling mid laner, scaling bot lane that all kind of have easy lanes on the side of the top. So I think they were really comfortable throughout this game. And you can tell it's one of those sit back and chill games because of how inactive it was.
Yeah.
during the early stages of the game. We saw like just conceding Drake, the first Drake, no contention. First blood came like 14 minutes in.
Yeah, well, you're looking on Sooning's side here, and you're thinking one of the things that's been really prevalent about these games at Worlds and the Worlds meta itself is all to do with your first 15 minutes. Now, what can you achieve in your first 15 minutes? First things first, level 1 play. Have you got a good level 1 play outlined? What can this comp do level 1? On the side of Sooning, not a lot.
Same with top as well.
Yeah, top don't have that either.
This is literally just a handshake of the early game.
Yeah. What else can you do before 15 minutes, though? You can stack a couple of Drakes, maybe. That goes to the team with bot prio. In this matchup, Bard's going to be peacing out and leaving you all the time. You're not necessarily going to have bot prio. We've got...
I think
we might get mid prio.
I think it was kind of decided by the mid prio because looking at the stats, like 17 minutes into the game, it tells a tale that's like contradicting what you're saying. So it's interesting how it goes about that, because Sooning get both Drakes, but obviously we saw that you've got Jin Bard versus Ezreal Leona. So although the Jin is stronger than the Ezreal in that stage of the game, the Leona offers more than Bard.
Yes,
guaranteed anyway.
So I think potentially they're getting fortunate, I guess, to get those first 2 Drakes, because they're not owed them with their composition.
I think it's Sooning playing the map better. Like,
yeah,
that they're taking Drakes off of resets that top are making.
Yeah, absolutely. But the last thing you can do pre 15 minutes is you can dive towers. You can dive champions under their tower, which Sooning have absolutely no tools to do.
Yeah, I have neither of them really. I mean, unless you really wanted to like dedicate the Ornn, like Ornn TP.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here is a first 15 minutes where potentially Sooning's draft goes a little bit better early game. It just doesn't scale as well as top esports. So if they can't do as much in that first 15 minutes, if they can't get a herald and get a tower down, if they can't do these things, if they can't dive champions under the tower and really build up a gold lead, then the first 15 minutes are just free.
I wouldn't even say it's like. It's hard to say who's got the better late game draft here, to be honest with you, because they both have merits and they both have win cons, and it's one of those games where it's like if they're gonna handshake like they did, the gold remains even for a big part of this game, but it comes down to execution in the end, like who executes the late game team fight better, and a lot of these kills that were picked up in the mid game were on the Orianna, which was really big for top, because obviously we know Knight can really pull out a performance when he needs to.
Yes, and absolutely.
And if you're gonna put gold on him for free for 20 minutes and get 3 kills on top of that, yeah, he's happy, he's laughing. Yeah, and the Orianna again, it's a big factor in these team fights that you're talking about, and who can play out the late game team fights. If you've got a scaled Orianna, if you've been able to get that to that point of strength where she's ahead, then that is the difference maker. There's plenty of CC on the side of top here as well, that's like got a movement factor about it. So you can disrupt the Ornn ultimate, you can kick people out of the Kindred ultimate. There's a lot of skill shot based things on the side of Sooning as well, so you can move away from those skill shots. You don't have to deal with them, whereas you've got more area of effect kind of team fighting on the side of top. So rather than looking at it's like I say, you've got those skill shots you can dodge from Sooning. If Sooning land all their skill shots, it's probably a completely different story. But if you're talking about raw, ease of execution, I think is a thing that comes up a lot, and the ease of execution on Top's draft, I think, is inevitably what makes the difference beyond the scaling. And even here, like in the team fights when it was getting pretty bad for Sooning, like top of Baron, they fought back and were winning team fights. Like, Jackal was getting caught again. And I do want to point out that this was the game where we saw Jackal E over the Dragon Pit. And then Flash.
yeah. Oh, yeah, and we were all like, what is he doing? What is he actually doing?
Yeah, I think that's just... He's lucky he won this game.
Jackal's coming to NA next season. It's time to retire, mate.
But yeah, I think, like, Knight this game was really putting on a performance, like, in the mid lane. His CS numbers, his participation in the kills, his ultimates, all on point. And again, there wasn't a great deal of action in here, but when it kicked off, top already.
Yeah, which I think goes kind of to the identity of top esports as well, isn't it? That they're not a massively chaotic team. They're normally for playing the macro. Oh, don't worry. Their laners will have a bit of a scrap with you if you want to have a scrap.
They're chaotic in the sense that that's just LPL.
Yeah. As far as China goes, they're like, whoa.
But they're quite tame for LPL.
Yeah.
Which translates to aggressive for everywhere else.
Everyone in all the LPL teams are cokeheads, whereas top esports are on weed. Like everyone's on drugs, but like top esports are mellow. I don't know if that's a good analogy. Probably not. I'm saying some weird stuff tonight.
You all right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long day. First day back at work after a few days off. Moving into game 3, because I think inevitably, obviously, we know that top outscales gets
top outscale. They won good team fights. Knight was just a force on this game.
Yeah, so absolutely.
At this point, it's 1-1 in the series. Top and Suning go towards some odd picks in this one. I say odd. Odd as in we don't see them a lot. And typically that is... Now I'm double checking this time just to make sure I've got the right order, because I didn't.
Okay. You got GP last pick, R5.
No, it's Jack's R5.
Oh yeah, so he switches it last minute, doesn't he? There you go. Jack's R5, there you go.
So we see Jack's R5, which I thought was pretty good. Mainly because of Renekton, Echo, Lee Sin all have to come into you. And you've got tools to deal with that. But the backline are kind of quite far away. You'd have to expend a lot to get on Caitlyn Lux. So it'd be like the Shen taunt flashing, or the Leona flash ultimate. There's not easy access, but the Jax kind of circumvents that with the fact that he's got the dash. He typically builds Bork, so he's got the Bork slow as well. His E will protect him from any damage that Caitlyn does on the way. I don't know if it stops Stormrazor slow.
If you don't get hit by the auto attack, then yeah, because it's only when the auto attack connects.
So he also circumvents that limitation. But I think it's more so that Bin is just comfortable on the champion.
Oh yeah. Is this his second Jax game?
I believe so.
In World so far, yeah. His first one, they didn't win that one. Right? That was that a group stage game, or was that against JD?
I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember.
I
don't think they won on it, but he still looked good on it, even though they didn't win that game.
But on the other side of the draft, we saw Nice Echo.
Yeah.
Which I kind of think is some sort of like... It's like a creative answer to Orianna. Like you have Orianna, Shen, and Leona. Now, Shen and Leona are kind of going to be stacked on top of each other in a team fight, typically.
Yep.
So Echo W gets a fair bit of value there. But also, it's a backline assassin. Like, it is quite easy for him to keep up with Ezreal because the amount of dashes that he has. So he's going to force a flash out of Ezreal. Because once you've got the move speed and you're running at the Ezreal, he dashes away. The Echo just dashes after him. So it's good in that sense. He also does an obscene amount of damage which we see from him in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they've clearly just drafted to try and Kingdom bot lane with Caitlyn Lux.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a big issue because I think we were discussing during the game that Caitlyn Lux should have been winning harder than they were.
Absolutely.
I think Huang Feng and Sword Art played a really good weak side game, and they were just taking the time, getting to where they needed to be. Obviously, Caitlyn Lux scales really well as well, so it's not like they were going to outscale them, but they just knew that they had to have good value in team fights versus them, and they just had to do their job and put in their time, and I think that's they did a really good job of that.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and it resulted in first blood on the side of Sunny.
Yeah,
like I'm pretty sure. What was it? Oh no, sorry. I actually went to. No, yeah, it did go to Sunny. So Ezreal managed to get the kill onto the Caitlyn just before Lux picked up the kill on the Ezreal.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that was purely because of a misstep. I can't actually see it. I'm just running back the game.
So,
but it looks like a misstep from the Caitlyn.
I think, yeah, Jackie Love goes one step too far forward and just takes the trade a bit too long. Oh, we don't get to see the whole thing because Ben's getting ganked in top.
I know. It's been a lot of discussion over observers this world.
So I just saw that. I just saw it there. It looks like a late cleanse from Jackie Love. Is part of the issue. So he gets stunned up with the Leona Q. Tries to wait it out, but then realizes that he's getting absolutely hammered by Ezreal. So hits the cleanse after a good second. So the Leona Q's worn off anyway. So kind of a waste of the cleanse there.
Yeah, I think it was he hesitated to cleanse, but then when the ignite got dropped, he cleansed the ignite.
Yeah.
But at that point, he'd already been locked down a lot.
Yeah, and you'd taken a lot of damage from just Ezreal, really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's Ezreal shift forward as well, I think.
Yeah, he flash shifts.
Yeah, he flashes to get past the Lux so he can keep landing damage onto Jackie Love.
But I just want to look at like how much pressure SOFM had early game on this Shen.
Yeah.
Like invading the Lee Sin. Just because Shen wins those early fights, and
that's right. That's the turning point, isn't it? Right up
this
here.
Is the game where they gift the Jax an early lead.
Yep.
And from there, we were watching the game, weren't we?
Yep.
And we said, "Oh, this game's just over."
It's over. It's absolutely over. I think even the casters were saying, "No, you've done it. Like you're supposed to. You're maybe not supposed to win, but you're supposed to not lose."
Yeah, yeah. So like when
into the Jax.
I think when Suning drafted the Jax here, they were kind of like, right, we are picking this to win lane. Bin just needs to play the lane well, and then translate it into the late game Jax that we all know and fear, which obviously offers more than a Renekton. But what ends up happening is the Jax just gets so accelerated because of this, like perfectly executed dive.
Yeah, I'm just watching it again now, and SoFM is so patient. Like, he waits for Carcer to leash the Grump for him. He forces him to early smite for health. He then smites away the Grump himself, so Carcer's still only level 2. He's chunked, and he's way behind SOFM. And then, like, Bin gets the wave in, timed perfectly, and, like, yeah, it's pretty textbook. Like, I say it's textbook. I actually don't think that situation comes up often enough for it to be textbook.
It does. It was good awareness from SOFM to do that invade. Like he was clearly tracking the Lee Sin, and he knew that the Lee Sin probably wouldn't be healthy after tanking the first few attacks of Gromp.
Yeah, it's really great, sort of in the moment, on the fly decision making by Suning, along with, like you say, that preparation to know. To track the Lee Sin, to know he's in that place, to know you've got your top lane prior with your wave coming in, And like this is also, there's credit to Bin here as well, because Renekton at the start of this dive is nowhere near to full health.
No, he's been trading really well with the counter.
Bin's been taking great trades, stacking the Conqueror and really getting value out of it.
Also the 2-man stun as well off the flash.
Yep, which he stun flashes rather than jumping, so as neither of them can flash away from it. Just little small optimizations that add up to a really massive impact on the entire game.
And then he starts proxying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what was it? Oh yeah, that was it. I said that during the game, didn't I? I said Bwin is the Bwippo of the LPL.
Yeah.
Like if Bwippo had better mechanics, this is what he would be. He would be Bin. all the Bwippo mentality with all the Chinese mechanics. God, that's terrifying.
I know. Take note.
Fnatic.
FNC Bin.
This is They can afford him. They had Huni.
So for fear of spending too much time on the game, we'll quickly power through what eventually happens throughout.
Sure.
It effectively comes down to the lead that Bin acquired on Jack's early game kind of just persists throughout. The Renekton starts getting starved a bit, whereas the Jax is thriving because the later the game goes on, the happier he is. Yep. He's approaching 3 items at the 30-minute mark, so he's well online at that point.
You've also got Jackie Love running it down a bit. Getting caught out here again, accelerating the Ezreal.
Again, there's a lot of missteps from Jackie Love, and I know like there's a lot of people who expected a lot from this guy coming into Worlds, me included. But I don't think he's had a good Worlds. He's
we've
had
not
good
seen
moments,
the best out of him.
But I see bad moments more than good moments, especially in not so much in group stage, because group stage was kind of just like it was a few free games for top, I think.
Yeah.
Regardless of the actual performance, but coming into playoffs, I think there was a lot of problems that were made really apparent. Like Fnatic opened him up. We talked about this last week. And again, we're seeing these missteps again where he's eating over Dragon Pit and getting caught out. He's overstaying in lane and getting abused by Leona. It's not navigating team fates as well as he should either.
It's not entirely down to Jackie Love here as well. I think we should probably say. I think Yuyan just had a bit of a stinker as well.
Yeah, I would. Because ultimately, the support can dictate the lane in certain scenarios. So I don't want to funnel on this mentality that everything's Jackie Love's fault, because it's not. But I kind of feel like there are some things that he needs to look at and think, was this preventable? In terms of what he could do or what he should have done. How many of those situations go differently? If he does one thing different or two things different.
Like here, where is Lux on the map when Jackie Love dies?
You know what, the isolated?
So Lux is over by Raptors for some reason. She appears to be roaming up towards. Is she just coming back from a reset? Yeah, so she's just coming back for a reset, walk through mid lane, which is fair enough if anything's due to happen in mid lane, but everything at that point, you've got Echo recalling near top lane. There's no need for Lux to go towards mid lane because there's nothing to be done there.
Yeah.
And she's left Caitlyn isolated with, if you leave anyone isolated against Leona, she can kill you.
It was kind of a feels bad really, because the lane wasn't in a good place for Jackie Love. It was pushing against her.
Yeah. So
not stepping up means she concedes a lot of farm and XP. But yeah, he got punished hard by a pretty good flank from Sword Art. I will say I think Sword Art came up huge in some of these fights as well.
Is Jackie Love sitting on a ward at this point? No. Okay, I'll let him off that one then. But yeah, that's another feels bad man, is that Yuyanji's got the ward for him. And if Yuyanji goes straight to the lane there, potentially gets there first, gets the control ward in Tribush, and you're completely safe. But I think that part of this mistake, and potentially this is something for deeper analysis, again, we want to move on. But is Jackie Love not respecting things like vision? Like, is it just better for him to not die there? Because he loses the whole wave anyway, right? You say he's stepping up for the wave because he doesn't want to lose the golden experience.
He loses it anyway, yeah.
He loses it anyway, plus plates and momentum and just everything else on top of it from dying. So would a bit more respect here from Jackie Love, maybe a reset, go pick up a pink ward himself, chuck it in that tri-bush, would that have been better than conceding the whole lane as what it's had to do?
Potentially, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, the game kind of... This goes quite far, to be honest. And again, SOFM, even though they lost both Drakes, because I think the casters mentioned this, and I thought it was quite funny. So I really want to try and pinpoint a certain time. Okay. So at about 14 minutes into the game, which was just as 30 minutes, just as the second Drake spawned.
Yep.
Which was Mountain. He picks up a Kindle gem. He then picks up. So he sees that it's Ocean Drake coming in, and he proceeds to build that Kindle gem into a full-blown Spirit Visage second.
Yep. Now,
what's right and what's wrong about that?
What's right and what's wrong?
Yeah.
So on the Shen pick.
Yeah, so Spirit Visage on Shen in this situation.
Okay. Not a great deal of AP damage, so your magic resist isn't like you're not getting massive value out of that. Potentially with your Tiamat though, you're getting a decent bit of health regen back, and just having a big pool of health overall is pretty decent.
So what the casters highlighted, which I believe as well, because it's kind of funny if you do take this narrative, is that he's such a huge flex that as soon as you saw it was Ocean Drake, Suning knew they were going to get Ocean Soul.
Yeah, and that was right. Yeah.
And they actually just built Visage knowing that they were going to get Ocean Soul.
They were going to quad stack the Ocean Soul off the back of it. Yeah, absolutely.
And at that point, Spirit Visage just is like an insane amount.
Unbelievable value out of that item. Yeah, you're
it
right.
might as well be Warmogs.
You build Spirit Visage on friggin' Oriana at that point, because like it's ridiculous. Yeah,
well, you could build it on the Jax as well.
I
mean, he didn't, because he was like massively ahead, so he went G8 instead. But you could build it on Jax. I think it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this game eventually closes out because of Ocean Soul and because of Jax, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it takes possibly 2 or 3 Barons for Suning to win this one, just to finish it off. But once after that second Drake, top just don't get anything.
Notice as well, this is one of those games where like we see Knight doesn't die at all until like the final seconds of the game.
Yeah.
So again, he's like 3-0. Like he was kind of trying so hard to win some of these team fights that they took, and he was doing an obscene amount of damage. Like he had like Lichbane, Deathcap, Darkseal that was stacking.
He can blow up any one individual member. Yeah,
like he nearly blew up the Jax. In remember the team fight where the Jax like got kicked into the team and then it backfired horrendously.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I remember in that moment you going, "Oh, that's a mental kick." And I'm like,
It was mental. Like not in
like,
the good
really
way.
Good. Yeah, it was really good, but
no, it was
not for them.
It might have gone differently if Angel landed the Q from Lux. Maybe that goes differently, but it was ambitious to kick him into the team because he just jumped straight on the Lee Sin who just dies, and then TP flanks them running away. It was really impressive from Ben.
I know which one you're on about. This is the one where
were we on about a different kick?
I think so. Yeah, no, this is the one where I'm like, his team have kind of trolled him there because he is isolated, and it's a 4v1. He just needs someone to go under tower with him. And as soon as they see the Jack spinning up that counter strike, they're all like, "All right, peace out." It's like, I don't want any part of that.
You're on your own.
Like, only one of you can tank the tower at one time. So like, it doesn't matter if all 4 of you get stunned up. Just go under that tower, trade 1 for 1, and take the Jacks out because he's worth 1 death. He is not worth though, like say, getting Lee Sin 1v1, then TPing on your backline, then killing you from there, then just doing so much work. Ben also, after that TP, the casters mentioned this as well. He TPs, he realises he's close to level 18.
Yeah, and he starts farming the wave.
It's just like, what? Hits 18, hits another power spike, so he's even stronger for that next fight. Like,
I mean, I don't know what his ordering was, but in any case, it's going to be a significant amount of damage difference, depending on whatever he leveled up last. So yeah, that was really good performance from Bin. And going into game 4, running it back, we see it again.
Unbelievable. Why would you let him? Why would it be allowed?
Yeah, it's like
this is an illegal draft.
To be fair though,
To be fair,
this draft from top is looking fairly standard.
Yeah, I think they're going, right, okay, we've had our fun, let's keep it simple, let's go back to basics, let's just win the game.
But this game was Angels all over.
Absolutely.
He popped off massively on this Akali.
And if you refer to episode 4, where we're talking about what Suning needs to do to beat top esports, we explicitly said put Angel on Akali.
We did, because of how
he was absolutely a difference maker.
How well he performed, and this game he was. Carter, bless his heart and soul, he really tried this game. He did.
Bless his cotton socks.
I mean, Boris griefed him.
Yeah,
but he really tried. But nah, this game went down similar to the others. Was this the one where we lost the team fight feed? Like the feed.
Yeah. We just had audio, and we were just listening. It was like that. Oh, is that a shuriken flip?
I remember I was trying to listen to every little sound. I was like,
listening for flashes.
And we come back, and Angel's got a triple kill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guess
seems
that
alright, right?
Yeah. But no, again, SOFM. Warmugs, Knight's Vow on this Jarvan. Because he doesn't need to do damage. He's got Jax, he's got Akali, he's got Ezreal.
Yep.
He needs to get in there, survive, and Knight's Vow, by getting in there and surviving, he's offering value just with his existence.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously got that Knight's Vow on Ezreal at that point, likely. Maybe Akali, he could change it halfway through the fight, but it's that extra healing it offers. Yeah. And if he gets out, he's got Warmugs to just go straight back in there.
Yeah. And there isn't really anyone on the side of top esports that's going to immediately blow you up in a team fight.
Knight maybe, but even he was quite stunted this game.
Yeah. So the Knight's Vow is just getting that value even more because it's over sustained damage rather than an initial burst. So yeah, you the Warmogs comes up huge. Locking down these key picks like Knight, like Jackie Love, just lock them down, kill them, and then the fight is immediately in your favour because when it comes down to, alright, Ornn can put out some damage, but when it comes down to it, Ornn, Tahm Kench, these are just champions that you need to eventually wear down once the damage threats are gone.
And again, do we need to start looking at Leona in draft? Because Sword Art made Leona look like such a highly contested pick.
Yeah.
He has some great performances on that champion.
They had to have been, they should have been more mindful of this Ezreal Leona combo because they'd shown just one game before that they could win a lane that they weren't supposed to win. They weren't supposed to win that lane. Leona as a melee champ is supposed to be so free for double ranged to just wear down constantly. But Sword Art obviously knows his place in that lane so well.
Well, Yanja tried to like subvert it this time round and try and bring out some dark technology with the Sam Kinch Halo Blades.
But the Mickey X special.
It just didn't have the same effect. Nowhere near the same effect.
No.
And it gets to the point that all games do within Ezreal, where you have Death Dance, Iceborne, QSS, Knight's Vows on him. And you really have to look at it from Top's perspective and go, how the fuck are we going to kill him?
Can't be done.
I'm sorry for swearing, but that is what's... I don't know what the Chinese is. Don't know what the Chinese for that phrase is, but I guarantee it, if there was voice comms...
Ni hao the fuck. That's... Ni hao means hello, by the way.
Hello the fuck.
Yeah, hello. Anyway, we've gone on way too long about this series.
We have.
Suning did really well. Top did really not well. I think that's essentially a lot of what it comes down to. G2 versus Damwon.
Let's speedrun it.
Let's speedrun it. Go on, make the joke.
Game 1.
Oh, don't miss the joke. Let's speedrun it. Like Damwon did in Game 4. There you go. I'll give you the joke.
Right then. Oh, sorry. I agree with that real bad. Viewers, you've got options now. You can either watch the last part of this podcast or you can watch G2 and Damwon Game 4 and we'll see what Shinnis is first.
Yep, ready? We'll sync it up. Go now.
Go. So, Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Inting Draft with Lucian, B1 Lucian going in the bot lane. What's that all about?
Yeah, just... I suppose it's kind of a misnomer at this point to call Lucian a flex pick.
I agree. Yeah.
Because I suppose technically it is if your opponent is in an AD carry meta, which is like an immobile AD carry, which Lucian can just blow up repeatedly. That's not what we've got here. We've got a safe AD carry meta. That's exactly the kind of meta that we're in at the moment. So Lucian has no value. He's not going to get on top of Jin Leona and get massive amounts of value. So as soon as you've seen that Jin pick come out as a response to the Lucian, put him mid.
It's not even a response to the Lucian. I don't even think Damwon are even considering that's Lucian bot at this point.
No.
Maybe they are, because if you're going to first pick Lucian, like normally Lucian's a counter pick, but you don't see it as often because it's banned in anticipation of what you want to play mid. Like when it gets first picked, because you can choose what to play into it, and although it can be flexed like we see here, it wasn't like it was bad to put Lucian mid against TF.
No, absolutely. Not probably not the best matchup for Caps. Probably doesn't get the best value out of Lucian mid here. But the TF is Silas bait. I honestly think. I think Damwon know that they don't care about the Silas matchup, and because G2 got such value out of it against Gen G, goes, no, it's definitely Silas coming against this.
Understandably, Caps is feeling good about Silas because he is good on the champion. Like, there's no doubt about that. But I think Damwon knew that, and we see a little story of Silas throughout this series, which we'll get to approaching Game 4. But what I don't like what G2's comp is how short ranged it is.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Obviously Lucian's a short range AD carry. Lily is kind of only has the Q range as her maximum.
Range, yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Renekton's the same. Silas is the same. Rakan's the same. Obviously Rakan can kind of go the distance, but you have to go in. That's the point. You have to go in as a unit. What do Damwon have? They have Jin and TF, who can just hit you from afar.
Yep, DPS.
Especially when TF builds stuff like rapid fire cannon, just to increase the range of that goal card. You have GP, and if you're running into GP, that he loves that. Yep,
you're going to be zoned all day by GP, and by Hecarim. They're going to force you into the zones that they want you in. Leona even does a very similar job. You can't walk through tight corridors with these kind of champions.
Exactly, yeah. And again, commenting on what we mentioned earlier about splitting up team fights, the Hecarim ult does that really well into G2's comp, Because if you split up G2's comp, like X amount of champions aren't getting any value in the team fight because of how short ranged it is.
Yeah.
So it's not like where you can split up a team fight but you've got a Jhin ulting from afar or a Caitlyn ult or anything like that. They have to go in order to do make any sort of impact on this game.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it would be this comp only works for G2 if every single champion manages to dive on one target or a group of targets at the same time. So if you manage to get Renekton, Sylas, and Rakan all go in on the same target at the same time, then this kind of scatter strategy doesn't work. But that's not what you tend to see with these champions. You tend to see one follow after the other, after the other, after the other, so they can go through their full spell rotation, then go through the next full spell rotation. So let's say that Sylas happens to be the first one to dive in. That's when your Hecarim comes across, cuts off your Renekton, cuts off your Lilia, and then you've lost your damage dealers. 4-on-1 for the Sylas, he's dead. You know, like we were saying, it's all about like the method in which you execute the fights is completely different for G2, as how they would want to have played it. They'd want to have played this comp into, for one thing, squishies, which there's a couple, but like as far as AD carries go, Jin's less squishy and vulnerable than most. Leona's obviously not squishy. GP can be tanky. Hecarim can definitely be tanky.
Yeah, like they all sort of get tanky because of the items that they build. So like Rod of Ages on TF makes them just that little bit tougher.
Yeah.
Typically Jhin is quite squishy, but when you look at the other side of things, like pretty much a lot of G2 are squishy as well. Yeah.
So there's no true tank on their side. I think people keep picking Renekton thinking he's a tank. He's not a tank. This needs to stop. The madness needs to end. Renekton is not frontline.
No.
Renekton's the backline diver.
I don't think anyone thinks he's a tank, but they kind of like when the pick fizzles out and the lane phase ends, I think that's kind of like the default argument, like, oh yeah, he acts as a tank from now on. But he's like the worst at that ever. Yeah. So
and the other thing, I think on the whole, the other thing about this G2 comp that becomes a problem is when we were talking, let's go back again to last episode, talking about win conditions. How did G2 beat down one? We, number one, unlock caps. That's just a win condition for G2 to win any game. Unlocking caps is a win condition. They don't get to do that. Yeah, they don't get to do that because Showmaker plays the lane so well, and he's got that support from Canyon, and also Wonder has to show up.
Yeah,
and Wonder is not able to show up in this lane against Nuguri.
Honestly, looking at the actual lanes, looking at CS numbers throughout the game, both Wonder and Caps were ahead of Nuguri and Showmaker. But Canyon was having an amazing game this game. Like, he was everywhere he needed to be on this Hecarim, and he was getting leads in different ways. And it was kind of a ticking time bomb for Down 1, because they knew that it was a lot easier for them to execute late game team fights. Yeah. And it didn't there is a clock on this game. It didn't even get that late because of how fed Jhin got early game. Yeah. Like, they botched a dive, but Jhin picked up like 2 kills from it, I believe. Yeah. And that G2 did their typical like give over first 2 Drakes as well, which ultimately resulted.
What about?
Ultimately resulted in Infernal Soul, and the game just snowballed way out of control. Yeah. And
yeah, absolutely.
So it was kind of a story of, if you give Down 1 a lead, they'll know how to use it. Even if you're doing well in your lanes, like, naturally, doesn't really matter because they have a plan.
I'm looking at this again. I generally think this entire game could go differently. Right, I'm going to change one pick, and I think G2 win if we change one pick.
Okay.
All right, bear with me. I think you change Lucian for Ezreal, and I think G2 can win the game. Because I just think this Lucian has so little value. I think it has negative value, actually. I think the Sylas, that's still great value because I think all the ultimates on their side are so good for Sylas.
Hecarim and Gangplank ults are pretty good for Sylas. Like,
yeah,
I'm not surprised they picked Sylas
Yeah.
I don't know what the draft order was now, but if it was...
So Silas is B4.
Okay, so it's into Gangplank and Hecarim. So, like, to be fair to G2 and to Caps, like, picking Silas here is so appealing because you have that, TF counter bit, but you also have Hecarim ult and GP ult. Like, Silas loves that, and even Leona ult's good on him, like to an extent. We saw him do that in the Gen G series and just
absolutely nuked them. With a Leona ult. Yeah.
So I agree with you in the sense that that's not the problem. The problem is the Lucian pick, and I was just not doing enough. And I think it was kind of like a pivot halfway through the draft where they were just like, actually, I wish we hadn't done that.
Yeah. I think if you throw in Ezreal into this comp, you also change the function of the Lilia then, because I think you change her to a more of a appeal oriented sort of mentality there.
Yeah.
Where she's all about throwing out the swirl seeds, getting back, and sort of kiting back, creating space for what you now have, like 2 backline divers in the Silas and the Renekton. So, like, I think you change the manner in which you play the game, but because you have Lucian, who is such a short range AD carry, who can get no value unless he's really in the thick of it, like, Lucian needs an insane amount of heal to be able to be effective.
And it's so dangerous being in the thick of it because of the fact that TF is a champion.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just going to click you and stop you.
So, going into game 2.
Let's do it. G2 win a game.
The G2 win.
And they look good.
Off the back of, like, the most disrespectful draft I've seen in a while from Damien.
Yeah, it's it's a big balls move.
It can work. I do want to like reiterate it can work.
Yep.
But
I agree.
What I didn't make much sense of was the Ashe B2 pick, because like the only there's at this point there's 2 AD carries off the table, Lucian and Jhin. So last game isn't going to happen again. We know that. So Ezreal's on the table. Caitlyn's on the table at this point. MF, Ashe, obviously. Senna. You've got a lot of options. But what it does by picking this Ashe is you forfeit Camille. And I don't know if this was like the plan to have this Fiora into Camille, but you know how potent TF Camille is. And yeah, you pick the Silas, but if you take Camille here instead of Ashe and then pick Silas, you pretty much replicate those conditions. So it's circumstantial, of course, because he doesn't have TF ult off cooldown, but you can do that Hextech Ultimatum Destiny Gate combo with a Silas instead.
Yeah, but like you say there, you also have a denial of the Camille, and that's where a massive amount of the value comes from. I think this is again one of those drafts where Damien they had champions they wanted to play that day that were on their list. They were like, today I'm gonna play.
Nuguri wants a Fiora skin.
Nuguri wants a Fiora skin, so he's got to get a Fiora game in there. And this was gonna be it. That's it. That's what it comes down to. I have no doubt in my mind that they said, "Ooh, Camille's up." At this point, I have no doubt, because they've got the opportunity to go for Graves, Camille. They could even go Galio here. So like, even if they're not thinking necessarily about the Silas counter pick, which obviously they can use into TF, but they still have a wombo combo they can just pick straight up. So they can, like you say, you can go Graves, Camille, Galio, and have a really, really strong top side of the map. So yeah, I don't believe that it wasn't mentioned, but I do believe that Showmaker's saying, no, I'm going to play Silas. I do believe that probably Ghost is saying, can I have Ashe here, because I don't want to play whatever. I don't want to be banned out.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what went on, but if we're talking about how this translates into the game, though, things just kind of get quite rough in the bot lane again. There's a lot of bot lane action in some of these games, including the top and Suning series as well. But there was that like real early skirmish in this game where the Leona picks up a double kill and the Ashe gets a kill. Really messy. Really, everyone's blowing the summoners. It's going to make Drake Pit just an auto concede for one of these teams. But I will say that Nuguri's Fiora was good. Like, you can look at the end of game stats and you can meme this all you want. The 0-6 special or 0-7 or whatever he ended up with. But when you look, I think it's more of a credit to how well Wunder played everything.
Yeah. Because
Wunder, I think I said this to you when we were talking about it, is that he was like weak side warden that game.
Yeah.
He was just denying so much potential value from Fiora, because Fiora kingdomed him in the sense of, CS, as you'd expect from a pick that's so, like a matchup that's so Fiora favoured.
Yep.
But he just couldn't do anything with it. Like, the split pushes were going on, but it didn't matter because G2 were just taking over the map.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm fairly certain he does Fiora things as well, which is to say that you leave him alone in lane for a few minutes and your tower's gone. Like, I'm fairly certain all of that was happening, but Wunder being the player that he is, and a really proficient Camille player as well. I don't think... I think everyone kind of associates Camille as being like an Asian, a Korean or an LPL pick, but obviously Wunder's got a great deal of proficiency on the champion. He always looks good on it.
He showed a great deal of patience this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a tough matchup. Like, there's not many points in this game where he ever beats Fiora.
No,
even
he's
late game.
Farming under his tier 2,
But he offers more in the team fight. And he just kind of sat there and just took the punishment.
Yep.
So like he slowly lost. He was slowly giving over the family to Nuguri, but his value as the game goes on is just intrinsically higher than what Nuguri's was, or could potentially be. So the only instance in which it works is if Damon win the 4v4, which they just don't because of the early kills that they picked up on like Kindred and TF.
Yeah.
Like, Jankos looked really good on this Kindred.
Yeah, it's weird because they keep talking about Jankos and G2's inability to play around Jankos as a carry jungler. But put him on Kindred and he does the work. He wins the game. Like, I do want to mention as well Perks, like really not looking like the weak need to be nervous about in bot lane that we had been thinking of him as.
Yeah, he showed up.
He came up big in this game, and a lot of value gotten out of the Iceborne Gauntlet, and sort of that Death Stance build as well, that you can go on the Ezreal. He was pretty hard to kill, especially considering that the people that could kill him didn't have access to him.
And that's it, and that's the thing, because as well, it's one less person to worry about for Damon's draft. Like G2 looking at him think, I only have to escape 4 people now instead of 5.
Yeah.
Or if they do bring the Fiora into the team fight, it's not that difficult to get away from.
No.
Compared to if it was a Camille.
Yeah.
How easy? How much easier is it if you're Camille as Nuguri?
Yeah. No, I think we've said what needs to be said here. I think you're right. That's like we've entered draft here. If we're Damon gaming, we've entered draft.
Got the skin. It's fine.
Got the skin. Skins mean wins, and that's what matters.
So game 3, and this is where we see a U-turn in the top lane.
Yep. Nuguri's doing Nuguri things again.
Pops his Lulu.
Has he got 100%? Has he got 100% win rate on this? He does, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Yes. 100% win rate on Lulu top, obviously.
Got nerf now.
So I didn't get to see game 3 or 4, so I'm gonna let you take it from here. Tell me the story.
So game 3, looking at it, because I've got the draft in front of me, and when G2 pick Jin, Kindred, Akali in first rotation, and Damwon picked Graves, Syndra, Ashe. So straight away, like the Akali was a counter pick, the Kindred was into Graves, and then the Ashe was the answer to Jin. But I think the actual game changes a massive amount with this Lulu pick. One, again, because it's a flex. Like, it could have been support, it could have been top. And G2 opt for, right, okay, if it's Lulu support, we need to pick someone that can punish it. So they pick Pantheon. But then they were like, okay, but if it's Lulu top, then we need to pick something that can kind of lose graciously, because it's so hard to kill Lulu top.
Yeah.
Like, not many champions can do it, really. So they pick Sion, low econ, high like value with his abilities and such, and they pick that just in case it's Lulu top, which it is inevitably. And then we see the Leona into Pantheon, which is, I think, fairly standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind
so we don't necessarily lose draft here, is what you're saying.
They do, and it's only because of the Akali pick. So,
okay.
Like, look, running into that team comp as Akali is the most miserable thing imaginable. Because you have Syndra E, you have Lulu Polymorph, and you have Leona's Q, and every other one of her abilities.
Yep.
You
might also get Ash Arrowed. You might also get blinded by Grave Smoke.
Yeah, and you've got the Wild Growth as well. So it's actually so difficult for Caps to do his job this game. And I think it purely is off the back of the Lulu pick because of how disruptive Wild Growth can be.
Yeah.
And it can really mess... Like, sometimes just... It can really mess with calculations that players make because of the additional health that they get from the ultimate. And it can cause misplays. Obviously, it's a knock-up as well. So, if you're in the middle of Shroud, and the Shroud's all around you, you just kind of Wild Growth, and if it knocks her up, it knocks her up. If it doesn't, it's fine, because they've got like an extra 200 health or something. So again, it's one of these team comps where G2 are kind of running at them, and Damwon are like, yeah, that's fine. They have Kindred and Jin, so they've got a degree of ranged. But what does that matter if Pantheon's only job is made impossible and Akali's only job is made impossible?
Yeah.
It makes it like a 3v5, because the only way Akali feasibly does her job is by A, forcing the Wild Growth out early and getting out of the fight, or B, getting fed enough for it to not matter, of which we don't see. So what actually did happen is they try and go for this weird dive onto Ghost in the early game, because obviously you've got Pantheon, and like dives are kind of like expected with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it just goes really bad, and Ghost ends up getting a double kill on the Ashe. Why
does this keep happening? This is like the third or fourth game that we've talked about.
I know, there's been a lot of
dive going
dives.
wrong. Yeah, it's just completely changed the way the game goes.
I think the first one went fine. I think Kindred. So the Kindred actually popped over first, and they got the kill on the Leona, I believe. And that was fine, but they just, I think, bit off a bit more than they can chew. Yeah. Mickey got first blood because of Kindred getting a bit of extra damage on the Leona. He just gets snapped by a spear. But yeah, there's bit off a bit more than they can chew. And it really sets Ghost up, because it's not like there was a big wave under tower as well. There was like 2 or 3 minions, so it just crashes back into the middle. So you don't really lose much as Ghost. You've just got 2 kills for free, effectively.
Yeah. I think what's sad about this for G2 on the whole is that you've just come off the back of a game where Jankos has been able to carry it by Caps drafting for a more enabling mid laner. But you go into this next game, you play a similar draft, but instead of giving Caps that enabler in the mid lane, you give him another carry. So
It reminds me of that TSM game where they put Bjergsen on LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Into a team comp that LeBlanc just gets blown up into.
Yeah.
It's a similar sort of thing, although you can forgive G2 because Leona Lulu was second rotation.
It's really unpredictable. I'm trying to think of a way that you can brain your way out of this, but unless you ban those two champions, you don't.
And then if you do that, what gets let through?
It's what do you actually ban those when top lane hasn't been picked yet? Do you actually ban Lulu and Leona?
The problem was Mickey's placement in a lot of these fights as well. He was trying to be the early Pantheon, typical early Pantheon, but against someone with a lead. After they botched that dive, Ghost just ends up being a lot stronger than she should be, and he's going for these invades on his own in the bot side jungle, getting caught, and he's just donating gold over to Ghost.
Yeah,
and now that happens twice. So second time, to be fair, he had his team with him to try and get a kill, but it's so hard to get away from Leona Ashe. Once you're in as a Pantheon, you're in. You're either killing him or you're dead.
I mean, Leona Ashe don't let you get away anyway. But Pantheon's an all-in champion, and Leona Ashe are not letting you get away anyway. Yeah.
So as soon as Mickey decides to go in, there are only two possible events that happen. That's either he dies or they die.
Yeah.
Ghost ends up getting a humongous lead this game, and it kind of just translates. But the big turning point, I think, was. So here's a really fun fact about Lulu top as a concept. So we're about 17 minutes into the game, 18 minutes into the game. We're on third Drake. G2 have done the typical G2 forfeit first two Drake strat, and Mountain Drake comes up. So Damwon, this is a dream come true for Damwon, because that Akali's job has just been made even harder.
Yeah.
With the fact that it's Mountain Drake. Lulu top is low econ, but also low efficiency in the sense of high efficiency in the sense of her items are cheap but effective, cost efficient. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So at this fight, Sion, even though they're going tit for tat, they've got one assist each, they've got the exact same farm more or less. Sion has Sunfire Cape and Spectre's Call and boots, whereas Lulu has Ardent Athenes, two full complete items. So at that point in the game, even though the champions are the exact same level in terms of gold, Lulu is just so much more effective.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that she's able to complete two items. And we see it in this fight. This fight pops off, Sion goes in, Akali goes in, and between Leona, Aftershock, Wild Growth, the shields coming in from the Lulu, and just the damage that Graves and Ashe pumping out on Syndra, even though they go in and you've got the Jingle there, they don't even get touched. They barely get scratched. Damn one.
Yeah. We've talked about this kind of comp before.
Yeah.
Sort of a mitigation comp where it's the fat gum comp.
The fat gum comp.
Yeah, the fat gum comp where you do just absorb those first round of hits, just take it all in, not really ever expending a great deal to continue to absorb that.
And then you just win the long fight.
You just reflect it all back at them once they've blown all their loads.
And this fight should have been so free for Caps because he had a monstrous flank, sorry. He was well rounded and he was on Ghost straight off the bat, but he ults over straight into Showmaker's Scatter the Week.
Feels bad, man.
Puts him into the open. It gives Ghost enough time to get a couple of shots on him. At that point, you have to use the second R to escape.
Yeah.
So, no value from Akali there, even though it was a beautiful flank. This is kind of the tale of how this game goes from now on. It is just Damwon pushing their lead. They don't have to rush. They can just wait for Mountain Drake because as soon as they get Mountain Soul, the game's over anyway. Akali's not a champion anymore. Pantheon's not a champion anymore. Sion is tanky, but you've got Ashe with Bird of the Room King, who's been accelerated.
Yeah.
So like the Ashe can just shred through Sion with little to no effort. Jin's not got the DPS to take everyone out before he gets one shot, and even then, again with Jin, because like a lot of his damage is kind of, it's there, but it's split into like 4 chunks. Obviously, he's 4 shots.
Yeah.
That's a lot easy. It's really telegraphed as to when Lulu needs to shield or wild growth.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of value from Lulu in this comp. A lot of good players from Damwon. They knew what they needed to do. In the one team fight G2 won, to be fair, it looked like they could potentially swing it back. But again, they were on a ticking timer, because if they got Mountain Soul, it was doomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was a
kind of uncharacteristic of G2 as well to not have a way to play the game.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what this comp does to them. Stops them from playing the game.
They tried to find a way to play the game with this team fight that came in. But the problem with it was that they'd already fallen behind. Like, to be fair, they weren't that far behind in a gold standpoint. It was more of the pressure at that stage in the game to force this soul fight. So Ashe and Syndra at this point are both ready to go. Like, let's go. Syndra's got Void Staff. Graves is on 3 items. Jin's on, like, Jin and Ashe at this point, to be fair, are at the same strength more or less.
Yeah.
But the Syndra's doing so much more than the Akali. Graves is doing a lot more in the close range team fight that has to care for the fight to start, because you've got Pantheon and Akali. So it really makes the Drake fight so easy to navigate for Damwon. They get Mountain Drake, and the story tells itself from now on. Like, they can't do any damage to the carries. But between Mountain Shield, Mountain Resistances, Lulu Shields, it's just kind of doomed for G2 at this point. And then we get to Game 4.
Game 4.
And now we're finished. That's the end of the podcast.
That's it. We get to Game 4, and it's over.
Fastest game in world's history.
Yep. What a note to go out. I'm on a freeze frame here in draft of Yankos and Wonder. They are absolutely laughing their asses off in this draft. I don't know if that's in response to because the Braum's just been picked. Obviously that's a pretty good counter to the Ornhorn. I see Perks and Mickey on the Senna, on the Senna Nautilus, which that kind of feels good. Perks had some good Senna games.
They're kind of running it back to G2 Evolved a little bit with Senna Nautilus, because we've not seen a lot of Senna Nautilus.
No, not the two together.
Yeah, we know how potent it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, what's the key thing here, Demo?
Let me have a little look. What is the key thing here?
And it's not the champion, it's the rune choice, mate.
Oh, rune choice. I cannot see rune choices. Yes, you told me about this. Yes, so this is the Halo Blades Braum, right?
Yeah, and honestly, it was. I wouldn't say it carried the game, because that's really like quite a statement to make. But it looks quite good into Nautilus anyway. It could probably do well into Leona as well, like, or anything that has to get close to you in order to do significant damage. Because he stacks it up so quick, it was disgusting. Like, it was good innovation, because it's obviously like a flip on the Tam Kench Halo Blades that we saw previously from Mickey X.
Yeah. And
it's kind of like an application of that to a different champion. And it works the same way, if not better, because someone else can stack it as well. So getting those like 2 or 3 stacks straight away is more or less an instant stun if you've got someone else hitting them.
Yep.
Mix that with like TF Gold Card. You kind of just have a recipe for picks, and that is the story of this game. Like, this is the game as well where Caps on his Silas into TF, which he's done the matchup plenty of times. He likes it. He's happy to do it. He's got some okay. I wouldn't say he's got the best ultimates to choose from on the side of Damwon.
Yeah, not the greatest.
They're circumventing a lot of value from Silas compared to game 1, for example, when there was GP Hecarim. But he gets solo killed by TF in this lane. Like, I think he just made a mistake. Like, it was unfortunate. But he made a mistake. I think he thought that Jankos was closer than he was. I think he was fighting Canyon at the time. Yeah, he was fighting Canyon when Caps engages on Showmaker, so he couldn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So that happens like that, and then we see things just get out of control. We see them.
Yes.
What
I want to know, how do Damwon win the game without Baron? Like, how does that happen? Because you got to knock down at least 4 towers in a row.
That's right. So effectively, Damwon got like a really strong lead. Like, Braum was roaming, using that Halo Blaze to get these picks. Obviously, TF follows up on that really cleanly. Kindred can slow on top of that. It's really quite impressive to play. But they get this second Herald right, and at this point, all the towers are up. Apart from top and bottom, I believe. So all the mid towers are up. They take mid tower. Okay, you kind of expect that because Damwon are really in the lead now, like 7k up at 15 minutes. It's looking really bad for G2. There's been a lot of mistakes, a lot of kills in the top lane that really shut Wonder down. Somewhat fierce, and then things just get a bit mental. So they're pushing mid lane in. So G2 are pushing mid lane towards Damwon, and they opt for a team fight. So Braum shield goes up. Wonder notices that, so they fire center ult, they fire Ornn ult right down the middle, and they kill the Braum. But Caitlyn is getting free fire throughout all of this, apart from the one Nautilus ult. But even then, she buffered the Q, so like the Q went out. So she was still kind of DPSing through the ult, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
TF's DPSing, Kindred's DPSing, and then the Set TP's in. So Set comes in, Destiny's used. It's a 1-for-1, mid laner for support, because Caps falls in the fight. Off the back of Braum, Braum Ignite, ironically. And at this point, they take the Drake. So you would normally think, right, let's reset, we've got gold to spend, we've just gotten a kill, we've got Drake, but we'll shove the mid lane in first.
Yep.
And then Cannon's like, nah, let's use Herald. Let's just force this down mid, we don't want to back yet. We'll get tier 2. They're on a rough reset as well. So it happens, right? And then Ornn gets rooted on the tower by the
he dies so quick there.
Yeah, gets rooted in the tower. CC galore comes in, and then they just start running at them. Like, Canyon is just going under tower for Jankos. It's hard to keep track of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Because
it's fair away.
It's scattered from G2's perspective. Like, they're all over the place, but they're damn one like this compact unit moving forward.
Oh my god, this Herald's still going.
Herald's still going. It's on 59 HP.
Oh my god.
And look at Canyon here.
The Kindred ult comes down.
Protects that Herald.
Oh my word.
And it would have got a second charge off if it weren't for Caps here. But, like, they shouldn't have been able to end.
The champions are just melting.
Yeah, I don't want to reiterate, they shouldn't have been able to end. But I think it's because of the amount of sustained damage. So, like, Kindred, Caitlyn, TF, they're all kind of self-sustaining in the fact that their damage comes in the form of auto attacks, and you've got TF blue card.
It's over.
Set obviously has no mana. Braum's little mana, his usefulness is kind of gauged on his passive at this point. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like, I guess G2 just didn't all base. Like, I think maybe if they base all at the same time and just kind of do a hard reset when they push in Hib Tower, maybe they push them off it. But they were like trying to fight them like scattered. So it's they've already got the pick on two of them. Like top laner and jungle down.
So quick from this Ocean Drake.
Yeah, like it's mental. Like it should not have happened. But
Caps is up in 5 seconds when the Herald spawns. So you've got all 5 members of G2 up. In any other game, they base. They maybe see the tier 2 tower.
I'm just.
God,
so I'm
Wonder
just
dies
gonna
so
take,
quick.
Yeah. I'm just gonna take the time. So Wonder dies under tower, and then Yankos dies not too long after. Barely any answer from G2 at this point. The tower does more damage than all the champions combined.
Yep.
Caps tries
and
you've got
a Senna mind, like you've got a bit of range there. You might be able to, if with some good cues, you might be able to put.
Everything was still on cooldown from the previous fight, which is good to mention. But the two things that didn't get popped last in the previous fight was Lamb's Respite and Showstopper. So the Damwon still had those tools, and I think they literally just gambled on, if we do this play, like I think that when they took the Herald mid and they got the inhib.
Oh my god! I've just watched Wonder be stunned for 3 seconds.
Once they got that inhib, I reckon Damwon just said, right, let's just try and end, because I feel like even if we don't end here and we throw a little bit, we still win.
Just noticed a little troll here. Wonder's playing Omnistone in this.
Yeah.
On the Ornn. Wonder's running Omnistone on the Ornn.
I don't know
because
about that, Chief.
Yeah, I've just looked at Ornn and I was like, hang on a second, he's got Predator. And I was like, why would you pick Predator on Ornn? And then I look up into the top right and I see Omnistone on Ornn.
Maybe then a little bit of rune griefing.
That sounds like rune griefing to me, because I guess I get the idea in that if the right runes come up for you at the right times, you probably can get a bit more value out of your 1v1 with Set. But Nuggery's shown proficiency on Set, and he's a great duelist in general. It's just the way that he plays the game, which in fairness, Wonder's a really good duelist as well. But if you're going to duel Ornn versus Set, make it consistent at least. Don't gamble on friggin' Electrocute coming up at the right time or whatever,
Yeah, because how much value does Ornn actually get from half of those runes?
I have no idea, but
at all.
Obviously you don't expect this kind of fight to come along, but when you've got to protect your Nexus.
The only thing that makes sense to me is that it was a misclick and he meant to go Spellbook. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yes, I mean Spellbook Ornn is obviously something we've seen before and makes kind of sense, but he comes out of base, he's got Glacial Augment, no value. He manages to apply it, and now he's got. I can't see it. My screen's too small.
It goes to Predator, I know, at some point.
Yeah, and then it goes over to Predator, no value. You're basically playing without keystones in a moment where you need as much help as you can possibly get. Yeah, in the pick, you potentially you pick it for the 1v1, and you can't predict that you're going to reach this state of the game. Especially if you're G2, you think this game ends 3-2 no matter what, right? If you're G2, probably even Damwon think this game ends 3-2 no matter what. So, you probably pick that, think it's foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where, if you pick it and you win on it, it looks good.
Oh, yeah.
But is it actually that good, or are you just winning? Yeah. So...
Yeah, we've got to go back to, Omnistone TF and things when that was popular, and obviously Nemesis had a really good game on it, I believe, and ever since then it was Omnistone TF, it's the shit. But you never saw another good game on it in pro.
Right. Yeah, you're right. But let's quickly summarize. What do we think the result is? Final.
So we've got Damwon Gaming versus Suning. Game's going to be played on Saturday morning, now at 10 a.m. Seeing as we're no longer British Summer Time for you guys in the UK. God, I think Suning can scrap.
Do you think?
Suning can scrap for it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it was a 3-0 down one.
I would be, to be honest. I think that it's going to be. I want 3-2 down one.
Yeah.
Whereas I think 3-1 down one.
Yeah, I think Suning have shown enough. I mean, Suning are clearly better than G2. So, we joked about it last week, saying G2 can't beat Suning, therefore they can't beat Damwon. But like, Suning are better than G2 by quite a good margin at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about it before, and lane for lane, pound for pound, Damwon just has more talent across the board.
They've also showed more, like, just better state of plays.
I've honestly, although I've continued to pick Damwon, I've underestimated them through this whole tournament still, and I won't do it again. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna go 3-0 Damwon.
3-0.
Because I feel foolish. I keep saying it's going to be closer than it is, and then they get the quickest game in world's history against G2. Like, you know, they're clearly on another level when it comes to this. They understand. They look at the draft as they're doing it, thinking, if we were analysing this game after the fact, what would we be saying about this draft right now? Like, and like all the things that we've mentioned about these drafts and about the way they play the game. They know how to do it, but they know how to do it before the game starts, and that's the key thing. There's a lot of teams that can talk confidently about their drafts and what went wrong after a game finishes, but then they can't friggin' replicate it when the same situation comes up again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, because I actually think Suning have shown that kind of intelligence
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to give it fair to Suning, they're picking drafts that make sense, and they're playing to win conditions. Suning are just a little bit too loose. So if
there are gaps.
If they do end up on a draft where it requires really tight play, like if we're looking at something with narrow win conditions, then Suning is not going to perform well on it. And Damwon just have enough flex capabilities and that to bait or push them onto that kind of draft.
That's it. I mean, a lot of these wins have come off the back of like Bin picking out this really niche pick, but having said that, like Nuggery's the king of niche picks. So
yeah, you pick Jax, he will pick Fiora, and he'll 1v1 you. Like, which all right, fair enough. Didn't go well into a Camille, but like,
I think if he picks Jax, Nuggery just picks Kennen, and he'll just bully you out of lane. And then leave you alone whilst he wins a team fight.
Yeah,
I just think
you're not gonna be able to stack kills because he's not gonna be there. He's not gonna be there for you to kill.
He'll just peace out at 20 minutes and appear in the middle of a team fight. He'll just be placed in the middle of.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Because no one else knows how he gets there. No one else knows how he gets there. It's just all of a sudden
Nuggery, drag and drop.
Slicing Maelstrom. What happened here? Where did he come from? He's a magician. Yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubt that Damwon will be our world champions. We'll be getting some spicy Damwon Gaming
I believe so.
champion skins.
I'm actually looking forward to it because Damwon's colour scheme is similar to Samsung's.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's like the Samsung Galaxy skins.
I like those skins. I don't know if many people do, but...
do you know what? I'd love to see the Samsung Galaxy skins if they were made like now with all the VFX improvements that a lot of these champions have had.
I mean, I remember like some of the effects on that, like the fact that the Ezreal ult was the Samsung Galaxy logo.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, whoa. But yes, I actually think that it depends on the champs they're picked, of course. But I mean, if we get Suning, do we get more red and yellow? Or mainly yellow, I guess.
You get a bit of white in there.
Yeah.
The jerseys are white. Bit of blue off the Suning logo. I don't know.
I'll have to wait and see.
What is okay? Right, we'll finish this off. I did want to talk about Bjergsen, but I think we'll save it. All right, because we're running long here. But if you had to pick, so supposing Suning win, pick one champion that you think would come up for a skin, and supposing Damon win, pick one champion you think would come up for a skin.
As in, like, what I think they'll pick.
Yeah. Just one though, because going lane by lane.
Yeah. Probably Jin. One Thing's played a lot of Jin, so it wouldn't surprise me if that came out.
Yeah.
What about yours? What would you think?
For Suning, let's think. What would been? I think GP. Mind you, GP already has an FPX skin. I don't know if I don't know if he'd be bothered about it, but he has had some real pop-off moments on it. So
Jax maybe.
Yeah. Again, only played 2 games on it. In the whole, 3, sorry, total. In the whole of Worlds. I don't know if he's that attached to it. Camille maybe for the Ignite TP.
I think Camille will get one. I don't know, maybe it makes sense, I guess, but
I mean,
actually,
we could.
Why not
Sofum? Why not Sofum's Lee Sin? Oh, again, FPX had it.
Yeah. Are we just going to get Renekton?
I don't want Renekton. Blue and white scales or something on a
Damon, who do we think?
Croc. Damon, Lulu. I think you get a Lulu for Nuggery. Come on, or a Kennen there.
Yeah, I think it'd be more inclined to go Kennen.
Those have been his 2
sort of. Vlad. Oh, he could go Vlad. Vlad does not get a lot of skins.
He would have wanted Vlad from last year, I think. Like.
Sure, but if he pops it out in the finals, maybe he'll just do his Vlad.
Do his Vlad, would you? You're gonna play Cull on it.
Failing
as well,
that,
just as a throwback.
Don't know. Maybe we see a TF. It's hard to say because it's not based on how many times it's picked. It's based on whether that player likes the champion.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but
they have to have played it.
They have to have played it
at Worlds, or do they have to have played it in the regular split?
No, I think it's Worlds. I think
they have to be played at Worlds. Okay, so they have to have played it at Worlds, and that player obviously has to then choose a champion that they've played at Worlds.
So maybe it's just Fiora then.
Maybe it's just Fiora. I think it could be Kennen for Nuggery, honestly.
Kennen or Vlad, I think. If we're going for something that he likes, I think those 2 are staples. But I don't know the guy. Who knows?
No, he's an enigma. Wrapped in a Pandora's box shrouded in mystery.
All right. Then.
And with that, we will end our episode. Let us know what you thought of it. If we rambled too much, I think we had a lot to say about Suning top game because it was very exciting. It was a very exciting series to watch. As was Damwon G2. It was just, I think I would just fizzled out towards the end more. Which is kind of a shame. Really, it's not the way you want that kind of series to go. You want that to be a proper fight.
I wanted both of these series to go to 5 games, to be honest. But I will say, Top and Suning's was a lot more chaotic and
really good series.
I've really enjoyed watching Suning this tournament.
Yeah, I hope Suning don't go the way of FPX and just like completely go to shit next season. I want to see Suning keep repeating, coming back to Worlds stronger every single time. I think that'd be really good for the international competition. But yeah, we'll obviously have another episode after Saturday. We'll talk about the finals. We'll talk about whoever becomes the winner. It's going to be Damwon. We will then talk. Start to talk about future plans.
I was going to say we should probably put a bit of time in the next one just to talk about what you wanted to talk about today, and just talk about off season. Maybe.
Yes. So in general, after we finish talking about Worlds, and how that all concludes, I did want to speak about Bergson and his retirement from TSM, but we'll save that for next time. We'll also talk about off season in general, hopefully by then. So we will be into November by then. So coaching staff will have been allowed to move by then at teams. So no players will be allowed to move, but coaching staff will have been allowed to be moved around. So that can start to give an indication of how teams are going to be built by these coaches, around these coaches. So that will be an interesting thing to look at. And then obviously there's already a lot of rumours going around which are worth talking about with regards to player moves and rosters and what they'll look like. So I would imagine that to be more LCS focused from my perspective. Are you keeping up with LPL LCK?
It's hard, to be honest, because of you only get the information as as it happens. They're not as active on social media as like Western teams are.
So your media outlets are not.
Yeah, it's a bit harder to get the information, but if something comes up, I'll definitely talk about it. Like some teams are a bit vocal. Like we might see some T1 changes.
I hope we see some T1 changes. I hope we see some T1 changes. Because they've got to fucking sort it out. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know. I want Faker back at Worlds.
Yeah, it doesn't count. It's not even Worlds without Faker. Like, oh yeah, big whoop that one. You won Worlds, but Faker wasn't there, so does it really matter?
Nah.
Doesn't matter at all.
And
again, thanks for watching.
The Unsealed Spellbook Podcast. Peace out.
See you later.